Ever catch yourself wondering what happens to love, after the wedding, when the honeymoon phase is over and, well, real life sets in?
It's the age-old question.
It really is. And it's something Gary Chapman dives right into in the 5 love languages.
Right, from the first page, even.
Exactly. He uses this really interesting anecdote about, well, he's on a plane.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy sits down next to him.
Let's call him Steve.
Okay, Steve. So Steve, he's successful, seems to have it all together, but...
He's been married and divorced 3 times.
3 times.
Which, as you can imagine, would make anyone a little jaded about this whole love thing.
Absolutely. I mean, that's got to do a number on your faith and lasting love. And he's basically at his wit's end asking Chapman, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why bother if love always seems to disappear?
And the thing is, this isn't just some isolated case. A lot of people, maybe even some listening right now, have probably felt that same sense of disillusionment.
Oh, for sure. I've definitely had those moments. And I think that's what makes this opening so powerful. It's incredibly relatable. Whether you've been married and divorced 3 times or you're just starting to think about long-term relationships, that fear is there. What happens when the spark fades?
Right, and Chapman doesn't shy away from that. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He actually uses Steve's story to highlight a really crucial point. Love does often change after marriage, but not necessarily for the worse.
Okay, so you're saying it's not always a downward spiral. There's hope.
Exactly. Because what often happens is we enter marriage with all these unspoken expectations about how our partners should express love, and when those expectations aren't met,
We freak out.
well, maybe not freak out, but we start to panic, thinking, oh no, love is gone. But what if it's not love that's gone, but the way we're expressing it?
So it's not about loving less, but maybe loving differently, or misunderstanding how our partner shows us they care.
Exactly. And that's where this whole love languages concept comes into play.
And that's what's so groundbreaking about Chapman's work, don't you think? It's not just about trying to love harder or anything. It's more about being smart about how we love.
Absolutely.
Figuring out how to actually make it resonate with our partner.
It's like, learning a new language, really.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, just like with any language, you have to put in the effort to learn it, but then...
The rewards can be huge, right?
Exactly. And in the book, Chapman, he goes on to outline these 5, core love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And even just getting a basic grasp of what they are can honestly, transform how you see your relationships.
Okay, so I have to ask, without totally spoiling the book for our listeners, of course, can you give us a little preview? How does this whole love language thing actually play out in a relationship?
Okay, so picture this, right? You've got someone whose love language is acts of service.
Okay.
So for them, it's less about words and more about, what you do. So a heartfelt letter, sure, it's nice. But what really makes them feel loved is, say, when their partner does the dishes without being asked.
Those little things that show you care.
Exactly. Or remembering to pick up their dry cleaning. It's about those small gestures that say, I see you, I know what you need, and I'm here for you.
Yeah, it's like, you get me, You get what I need, even when I don't say it out loud.
Right. Now, let's say their partner, their love language is words of affirmation. They need compliments, encouragement, hearing, I love you,
I appreciate you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this person, they might be doing all the chores, being super helpful, but
if they don't hear those words, it's not quite enough.
yeah, they might start feeling unloved, underappreciated, even if their partner is trying their best in other ways.
Oh, I can see how that could cause some serious friction in a relationship.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one person feeling like they're bending over backwards and the other feeling totally unseen, even though they're both genuinely trying.
And this is just one example of the love languages in action, right?
Right. And Chapman goes into much more detail about the other love languages. Receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch, all of them have their own little intricacies, and ways they show up.
And I think what's fascinating is most of us probably connect with bits and pieces of all the love languages to some extent, right?
Oh, totally.
It's not like we're just one or the other.
It's like we each have our own unique love language profile, right? And figuring out what that is, both for yourself and for your partner, well, that's the key to building those really strong, fulfilling relationships.
It really makes you think about those couples, the ones you see who've been together for ages.
Yeah.
And they're still going strong, holding hands, finishing each other's sentences.
Still totally smitten. Makes you wonder how they do it. Right?
Right. What's their secret?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, no magic formula.
Of course.
But I do think understanding these love languages, it's it gives you this huge advantage, right? Because once you kind of get what makes your partner tick.
Yeah, can actually start speaking their language.
Exactly. It's like instead of fumbling around in the dark, you know.
You get a flashlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can actually like see what it is that truly makes them feel loved and appreciated.
And that's huge. It takes out so much of the guesswork.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think the other important thing to remember here is it's not about, you know, changing who you are.
Right. Right.
You don't have to become someone you're not.
It's about being more mindful, right?
Exactly. Being more deliberate, more intentional about how you express love, even in small ways.
And it's a two-way street, right? Both people have to be on board.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Relationships are a team effort for sure.
It takes two, or, well, however many people are in your relationship, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I really appreciate about Chapman's message here. Like, he's not saying that love is doomed after the wedding or anything.
Right. It's not all downhill from there.
Exactly. Just because you have different love languages, it doesn't mean it's a death sentence for your relationship, right? He's basically saying, look, you might be speaking different languages, but that doesn't mean you can't learn to understand each other.
And sometimes that understanding, that effort to connect on each other's level, that's what makes the love even stronger, even more resilient than what you had at the very beginning.
Totally. Because you've put in the work, you know? You've weathered the storms together.
And maybe that's the real secret to lasting love, right? It's not about finding someone who speaks your exact love language from day one.
Yeah.
It's more about being willing to learn each other's languages, to really like put in the effort to keep that conversation going.
To keep that spark alive.
Exactly. Even when things get tough, even when you feel like you're speaking completely different languages.
Beautifully put.
Well, I think this has given all of us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up our deep dive for today, I want to leave our listeners with this. What is it that really speaks to your heart?
Ooh, good one.
What makes you feel truly loved and appreciated?
Yeah, what is your love language?
Because once you know that, you can start communicating it to your partner. You can unlock that next level of connection and intimacy. So until next time, keep exploring those love languages.
Keep the conversation going.
And we'll catch you in our next episode